And in order to fight back from the tragedy of where we are and who we are, we have to make some decisions. We have to accept the fact that redress is our only real answer. There's always those who want civil war. Take a look at the civil wars that exist. The wars in any place and any time and every society. It just kills what you do have. It mutilates and it's just horrible. And we all know it's horrible. And the only people that like it are the people who are generals. And even some of them don't like it. So it's leaders that make war. So we need to remove their ability to make war. And we do that with world law. We make the law, they obey us. That's the difference. And in order to make a difference in our societies, we have to have limited capitalism, which means that we vote on exactly how much money anybody gets to have or earn in a year, or how much property they get. There are limits, and we're going to decide the limits for ourselves. No, you cannot have everything. We need things too, and we want things too, and so on. But to get back from a society that lives only on lies and theft, as is this USA, because you have all that greed and all that let the children pay, all of that, everything that is wrong. We have to accept the fact that we're going to have to take control over our own bankruptcy. Because unless we make the decision to go back to truth decides, not some asshole who thinks they are in charge, who wants to be God and wants to take everything, she continually screams, mine, mine, mine. There is no answer. We have to accept the fact that we are in truth bankrupt as a nation. We are. There is no other issue, there is no other facts, there is no other anything. You've got to play your game. You got to shout, no more consequences for us, let the children pay. And now it's time to pay. It's 50 years later or more. It's time to pay. Because you didn't quite die soon enough. Of course, if you'd like to line up and go ahead and die, go ahead. Go ahead. Who would care? Go ahead. Or otherwise, we have to go back to what a future can be. And our actual need is in redress. We have to decide what limited, we have to actually accept limited capitalism so that we have a base to follow. In other words, for us to get back to where we can be normal, to where truth can decide, we have to remove all the things that are not true. And all of those numbers are not true. Not one of them is true. We have to go back to what is true. And what is true is what was earned. And what is earned begins at the bottom. It doesn't begin at the top where Trump and his allies, sit. It begins at the bottom where we do the work and we make the sacrifices, and we are the actual wealth of a nation plus its resources. You can't kill every resource and say you're wealthy. Just like going to the desert and say, well, I'll just go get everything I want. It won't happen. We have to do what we have to do, and that means that we're going to have to have a real accounting, and we start at the bottom. And we give everybody the same amount of income. Everybody gets the same amount of income until it's all decided. And that means that the easy way to do that is to simply stop where you're at and reassess the credit card with so much money per per worker, and start there. And then we have to take control over the banks and everybody that has money and say, no, you don't have any money. No, you don't. You don't have any money. You have only lies. And you built those lies on our backs, and we're going to take it back. That's the price of all that failure. So, and they're going to shout and scream, and they're going to want to create armies against you and me. And they're going to do what they can to make you cry, because they don't want to give up anything. They're playing God. They want to continue to play God, and they're not going to give up without a fight. After all, they're the ones that declared war on you. Fighters, right? Or are they winners, right? Or are they losers? And the answer to that is none of the above. Because if you remove want, all we have left is life and death. So let's remove what we want, because it's important. No, you can't play the game anymore. No, you can't have everything. No, there are no more prizes. Nobody gets to win or gets to lose. You're either alive or you're dead. And that, makes life very simple. You don't need to be depressed about what you didn't get. Don't need to be proud about what you did get. We're just alive. And so to do that, we have to have an accounting. We have to go to court, and we have to account for what it is, and then we have to decide as a nation what is going to be divided up, and what is going to be lost, and what is going to be saved, and who gets to own it all. And in the end, we're going to have to collect gold again, so that we can go back to a currency that actually has some basis in reality, because it has none today. And that means that the gold, instead of confiscating it or getting a price on it, you get to buy a piece of property with it of a stated amount, as limited capitalism will allow. And you have to accept the fact that there's only income for so much, and that's all. No, you can't buy the whole city of New York. No, you can't. You're going to, we're going to create consortiums, and we're going to co-ops, and going to own it ourselves. No, this is about the lies and the cheating that you, in fact, did. And we're going to have to recreate villages. In other words, or rural America is an easier way to understand it. In other words, you can't go driving everywhere all the time for everything. It won't work. You have to accept the fact that we should be able to walk out the door if you live in a city and go get what you need just in a block or two. And that means we have to have a lot of little stores. And that means that in order to have a lot of little stores, you have to put out your how much money you're going to charge over what it costs you. And you have to put that up as a actual expense. And if you don't accept that, you don't get to have a business. And if you don't participate in the truth of that, we're going to take everything you have and give it to somebody else. You have to obey the reality of what we have and what we can do and what we cannot do. And the fact of the matter is that we cannot afford to cremate people. It takes too much fuel, too much pollution, too much oxygen, and we have to have resources. And that means that the end result of it is that that all dead bodies need to be ground up for fish food or something on that order, and then taken out to sea to feed the creatures that are going to try to feed us. If you don't do it, you're going to starve. So you're going to have to accept that, and 10,000 more. And I know you don't want to. You don't like it. You're going to scream and cry and but it ain't going to do you any good. Because the fact of the matter is, you've gone too far. You have to accept what is true. You have to learn what is true. And you have to not cry or bitch or moan about it, because it is true. It is what it is, it is what it is, and that's what you chose. So now we have to go back to what we can do. What we can, survive, and everything that we need to have, rather than what we want to have. And an excellent point in that is that the people who are not only is the university mutilating all of nature, they're mutilating all of nature. All of it. Stop them. And they're trying to ignite the same fire that's on the sun here on this earth, claiming that there's just not enough gravity to keep the fire here, but the gravity, solar gravity, comes from the fire. So, and it's a self-sustaining plasma. Once they ignite it, it causes our earth to become a sun. You want to burn? You want to be incinerated? And there's a portion of Christianity that says, well, it'll be the rapture. The rapture will come and we'll just fly way up into the air. But that's not the reality of it. The reality of it, once sun fire is ignited here, it's a 1,000,000-mile long flame. And it's going to suck you into the flame and you're going to be incinerated. That's where the rapture is. That's how you get to fly off into space, so to speak. Going to be incinerated. So there's any 10,000 things that you have to learn. There are 10,000 things that we have to do. There's lots of things that you don't get to have anymore. There are resources that we must protect. And there are people that we must stop. One of the things that, arsonists wait for high wind, so you know when they're going to be there. Go find them. And stop trying to dump water on fire that exists. Take your airplane and dump water in front of the fire, because it's a lot harder to ignite a fire than it is to put one out that is already burning. Stop it before it gets there. Or not before it gets there, but stop, dump water on it there. Build fence fires or fire fences, things like that. There's nothing that the university does that has much value to it. Does your computer really give you a lot of benefit to your life? Well, all of the robotic army that they're building is going to make you cry. That's just the facts. AI is going to make you cry. That's just the facts. Tragedy is on every single side of us. And that's just the facts. Now we either have to make a decision that limits how much tragedy and chaos we get into, or we have to die with it. Because believe it or not, we are on the threshold of extinction. Even if you don't think so, go to court, get redress, prove it ain't so. Prove it. And you can use me. I haven't paid federal or state taxes since 2021, I believe it was. Claiming instead that I'd be happy to pay the tax, but you have to obey the law first. And the law is redress. The law is First Amendment, constitutional, legal authority to decide for ourselves as we the people, not you the employee. We the people decide what is or is not in our best interest. We make the decision. That's the price of my consent. And I'd be happy to go to court. And I'd be happy to argue that you have to obey the law or I don't have to pay the tax. That's the truth of it. You have to obey the law or I don't have to pay the tax. I went to court before, and they did come and try to collect at that time, and they charged me 48% interest. They said, well, the law only allows us 24%, so we're going to charge you with 2 counts, and that'll be 48%. And it was a $10,000 thing, and they with tax debt, and they charged me an extra $5,000 interest, and they charged me an extra $38,000 in penalty. And I paid $5,000. This ain't about the money. Give me a courtroom. And they walked away. But there are there's 1,000 different things about all the tragedy and all the disgrace and all the criminal organizations that they have created against us in our own government. The pisshole media that refuses to acknowledge anything other than the university is God. You need to grow up. You need to wake up. You need to fight for your world or you're going to lose it. Fight for your world or you're going to lose it, because that's where we are. And you can claim, well, I'll wait and see, but that just means you're going to be extinct, because you can't wait for the world to die and then try to revive it. It's a living thing, and it won't revive once it's dead. Protect it so it doesn't die. What's so hard to think about that? You just don't want to, because you want what you want, and you don't want what you don't want, and you want to live for free, and you want to live without consequences, as the cult showed you to do. And the cult was wrong. Truth to science.